Sofia Bennett was just moments away from saying, "I do." But instead of tears of joy, she was overwhelmed with fear. In that instant, she realized she wasn't about to marry a loving partner. She was about to become a prisoner. As she scanned the room, she noticed her family turning their heads, not as mere guests, but as willing participants in the charade. Yet, it was a look in the groom's eyes that truly shook her. It wasn't filled with love. It was a chilling warning. What Sofia did next is the reason this wedding never made it to the reception. Sofia Bennett had always held a belief in love. Not the fairy tale kind you see in movies, but the quiet, comforting kind. The kind that wraps around you like a warm blanket. The kind that lets you exhale and feel at ease. She wasn't one to ask for much. She cherished the simple pleasures in life. Morning coffee enjoyed by the window. Soft melodies playing in the background while she worked. And those long, easy conversations that flowed naturally without any pressure. That was her essence. And for quite a while, she thought she had discovered that kind of love. His name was Daniel Carter. Successful, charming, the type of man who turned heads the moment he entered a room. When he spoke, people leaned in to listen. And when he chose Sofia, everyone said she was a lucky one. At first, she felt that way too. He was attentive, always calling, always checking in, always showing up. But gradually, something started to feel off. Not all at once, just little things. Things that were easy to brush aside, like how he made decisions for her. "Don't wear that. I'll take care of it. You don't need to worry about this." Initially, it felt like he was being caring, but over time, it began to feel more like control. Yet, she kept quiet, because every time she voiced her concerns, he would smile, softly, persuasively, and say, "I'm just looking out for you." And somehow she bought into it, because love isn't always loud. Sometimes it lurks in the shadows. Sometimes it leaves you feeling confused. And sometimes it makes you question your own instincts. There was one moment that stuck with her. Just a week before the wedding, they were out for dinner. Everything seemed perfectly fine, until his phone rang. He glanced at it, and for a brief moment, his expression shifted. Cold, sharp, different. He stood up abruptly. "I need to take this," and walked away. Sofia remained seated, watching, waiting. Something about that moment felt off, but when he returned, he wore that smile again, like nothing had happened. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Of course," he replied. Too quickly, too smoothly. Then he reached across the table and took her hand, firmly, a bit too firmly. That was the moment she brushed aside the warning, because deep down, she sensed something was off. Yet, she opted for peace instead of facing the truth. It felt easier that way. The wedding was already in the works, and everyone was buzzing with excitement. Turning back seemed impossible. And maybe, just maybe, she was scared of what she might uncover if she dared to look closer. So, she stayed. She smiled. She said yes to everything. And now, here she was, standing in a stunning garden, surrounded by vibrant flowers and familiar faces, dressed in the gown she had once dreamed of, yet feeling utterly trapped. The music floated softly around her. Guests murmured in hushed tones, and the officiant stood ready. Daniel was right in front of her, perfect, calm, and smiling as if nothing was amiss. But something was. She could feel it, tight in her chest, in her breath, in the way her hands quivered. And then she looked up. For a fleeting moment, their eyes locked. That same chilling sensation washed over her, the coldness, the control, the quiet warning. But this time, she couldn't brush it aside, because this time it felt like a point of no return. Deep within her, a voice whispered, "This isn't right." But everything around her was already in motion. The ceremony had begun, the words were being spoken, and the moment was unfolding. And Sofia Bennett was running out of time. But everything was about to shift. The ceremony went on. Soft music played in the background. Polite smiles exchanged. Whispers floated through the crowd. Everything seemed picture perfect. But Sofia felt like she was sinking. Her chest tightened as the officiant began to speak. Each word felt like it was dragging on, heavier, as if time itself was stretching. Do Daniel Carter. His voice echoed faintly in her ears. She had stopped listening, because something else had captured her attention. The way Daniel was looking at her. So calm, so sure, as if he already knew how this would turn out, as if she had no say in the matter. But wait, it got worse. Her phone buzzed, softly, almost imperceptibly, but she felt it, even in the hush of the moment. Her heart skipped a beat. She shouldn't check it. Not now, not here, but a voice inside her urged, "Look." She hesitated, just for a heartbeat. Then slowly, carefully, she moved her hand, pulled the phone slightly from her dress, and glanced down. Unknown number. One message. Her breath caught in her throat. She opened it. Just one line. "You don't have to do this." Her heart stopped. What? Her eyes shot up, scanning the crowd. Faces. Strangers. Friends. Family. No one looked out of place. No one seemed like they sent it. Her fingers tightened around the phone. Another message pinged in. "Look to your left." Her body froze. Slowly, she turned her head. Guests sat quietly, watching, waiting. Nothing seemed amiss. But then, at the far end of the garden, near the trees, she spotted him. A man standing alone, still, silent, watching her. Her heart raced. She didn't recognize him, but something about him felt dangerous. Not the loud kind of danger, not the obvious kind, but controlled, like someone who didn't need to prove anything. And then their eyes locked, and in that instant, everything else faded away. The music, the voices, the people, all gone. It was just him, watching her, and somehow she felt seen, truly seen, but she didn't understand why. Her phone buzzed again. She glanced down. "You're running out of time." Her breath quickened. This didn't make sense. Who was he? Why was he watching her? And how did he know how she felt? But she didn't respond. She couldn't, because suddenly Daniel's hand tightened around hers. Hard, painfully hard. She flinched. "Focus," he whispered under his breath. His smile didn't change, but his tone did. Low, sharp, a warning. That was her mistake. Because now she was paying attention, really paying attention, and everything started to feel wrong. The grip, the pressure, the control. And then she noticed something else. The way the guests were quiet. Too quiet, not emotional, not excited, just watching, like they were waiting for something, like they knew something she didn't. Her heart pounded, faster, louder. She looked back at the man near the trees. He hadn't moved, still watching, still calm. But now, there was something else in his eyes. Urgency. And just as the officiant began to speak again, her phone buzzed one last time. "If you say yes, you won't get another chance." Her stomach dropped. The words hit deep, too deep, because somewhere inside her, she knew it was true. And for the first time, fear turned into something else. Awareness, clarity, truth. But she was already at the edge, already standing at the moment that would decide everything. And she had only seconds left. That was the moment everything started falling apart. Sofia Bennett, the officiant's voice sliced through the air. Clear, final. "Take Daniel Carter." Her ears buzzed. The rest of the words faded away. Her mind was elsewhere. Her gaze wandered back to the man. He was still there, still watching. But now, he stepped forward, slow, intentional, and suddenly the atmosphere shifted. Something changed. Something that seemed to escape everyone else's notice, but not hers. Her heart reacted immediately, fast, uneven, uncertain. Who was he? Why did it feel like she recognized him? That didn't add up. She had never seen him before. Had she? Then a memory flickered. Quick, faint. A night, rain, fear, a voice. She couldn't grasp it fully, but the feeling returned. Strong, protective, safe. Just as she tried to cling to it, her phone buzzed again. Her hands trembled as she glanced down. "You already met me." Her breath caught. What? Her mind raced. No, that couldn't be right. But then another message. The night you thought no one came. Her entire body froze. That night, it all came rushing back. Weeks ago, she had felt alone, lost, scared. Something had happened, something she had never shared with anyone, and someone had come to her aid. But she never got a good look at his face. It was dark. It happened quickly, over before she could comprehend. And now, her eyes snapped back to the man. Him. It was him. Her chest tightened. But that wasn't even the worst part, because suddenly, Daniel leaned in closer, still smiling, still calm, but his voice dropped again. Low, controlled. Say yes. Not a request. A command. Her heart raced harder, and for the first time, she saw it clearly. This wasn't love. This wasn't choice. This was control. And suddenly, everything began to connect. The odd behavior, the tight grip, the phone call, the way he watched her, the way he spoke to her. And now this moment. But wait, it gets worse. Because as she stood there, frozen, trying to think, trying to breathe, trying to understand, she caught sight of something that had slipped past her before. Two men, standing at the edges of the garden, watching her, not like guests, not like friends, but like sentinels. Her stomach twisted. This wasn't right. None of this felt right. And then, suddenly, the message on her phone clicked into place. You don't have to do this. Her chest tightened. And then, another message arrived. Final, unmistakable. Look at his left wrist. Her gaze shifted immediately. Slowly, cautiously, she glanced down at Daniel's wrist. That's when she noticed it. A mark, small, yet unmistakable. A symbol, one she recognized from somewhere. Somehow, her mind raced to connect the dots, but her body reacted without hesitation. Fear, genuine fear. And then the man took another step forward. Closer now, closer than before. And everything inside her screamed. Something is off, but she still didn't have the full picture. Not yet. And the truth was still lurking, waiting, because what she was about to uncover would change everything. But that wasn't even the worst part. The air shifted, not with a bang, not all at once, but just enough for Sofia to sense it, as if something unseen had stepped into the space between her and Daniel. And everything felt tighter. Her heart raced as she focused on that symbol on his wrist, trying to recall, trying to make sense of it. Where had she seen it before? Why did it stir such feelings in her? Cold, uneasy, afraid. But there was no time to dwell on it, because Daniel's grip tightened again. Stronger this time. Painful. His smile remained unchanged. But his eyes, they shifted. Say it, he whispered, still smiling for the guests, still playing the perfect gentleman. But beneath it all, there was something else. Something dark. Something dangerous. And for the first time, Sofia wasn't confused anymore. She felt trapped. But wait, this is where everything took a turn. A voice sliced through the silence. Deep, calm, unfazed. Stop the wedding. The entire garden froze. Gasps, whispers, shock. Everyone turned. Sofia's breath hitched, because she recognized that voice. Before she even laid eyes on him, Alexander Knight. He stepped forward slowly. No rush, no fear, just an undeniable presence. The kind that made people move without a word. The kind that didn't ask for permission. And suddenly, everything felt different. The guests shifted. Some stood, some stepped back. Even the officiant fell silent. Because this wasn't just a stranger anymore. This was power. Real power. Daniel's hand tightened painfully around Sofia's. But this time, she pulled back, just a little, enough to create some space. And that one small movement changed everything. Daniel's eyes flickered. For the first time, uncertainty, but only for a heartbeat. Then it vanished, replaced by anger, concealed behind that same perfect smile. This is a private ceremony, Daniel said, his voice steady, controlled, sharp. You need to leave. Alexander didn't reply right away. He just kept moving, closer, closer, until he was just a few steps away. And then he locked eyes with Sofia. Not with Daniel. Not with anyone else. Just her. And in that moment, everything fell silent again. "You don't have to do this," he said, softly, but with conviction. And something inside her cracked, because this time, it didn't feel like just words. It felt like a truth. But then, Daniel chuckled. Light, measured, almost mocking. "Sofia," he said gently, "don't let the stranger throw you off." Stranger. That word hit differently now, because she realized he wasn't stranger. Not anymore. But Daniel pressed on. "This is exactly why I warned you," he said softly. "There are people who try to meddle when it matters." His tone shifted just a bit. Still calm, but sharper. People who don't know what's best for you. And there it was again. Control, disguised as concern. But this time, she saw it, clearly. And that shifted everything. Because now, she wasn't just sensing something was off. She knew it. But wait, it got worse. Because suddenly, the two men at the edge of the garden moved. Closer, not hurriedly, but purposefully. Watching Alexander. Watching Sofia. And now, it was obvious. They weren't guests. They were there for control, for pressure, for force. Sofia's breath quickened. Her heart raced. And suddenly, this wasn't just a wedding anymore. It was a trap. And she was right in the middle of it. But Alexander didn't budge, didn't react, didn't even glance at the men. He just stood there, calm, still, watching her, waiting. And for the first time, she understood something else. He wasn't trying to seize control. He was handing it to her. New version. Silence hung in the air. Heavy, uncomfortable, unavoidable. Every gaze was fixed on her. Waiting, watching, judging. Sofia stood there, caught between two worlds. Behind her, expectation, pressure, control. In front of her, truth, risk, freedom. Her heart raced, pounding so loudly, it felt like everyone could hear it. And then she remembered that call, that strange moment, that dinner, the way Daniel glanced at his phone, the shift in his expression, the tightening of his grip, the way he asked, "You trust me, don't you?" That wasn't love. That was control. And suddenly, everything clicked into place. That call she brushed off was her first warning. And now, this moment was her last chance. Her breath quivered. Her fingers shook. And slowly, she withdrew her hand from Daniel. Completely. The reaction was immediate. His smile faltered, just for a heartbeat. But it was enough. Because now, everyone witnessed it. The real him. Not the perfect man. Not the charming groom. But something else. Something colder. "What are you doing?" he asked softly. His voice no longer gentle, no longer patient, but controlled, dangerously controlled. Sofia stayed silent, because for the first time, she wasn't afraid of his voice. She was afraid of staying. And that shifted everything. She took a step back. The guests murmured. The tension tightened. Daniel's jaw tightened. "Sofia," he said again, sharper now, "don't make a scene." But she already had, and she didn't hold back. Another step, closer to Alexander. Her heart racing, her breath uneven, but her mind clear. "I can't do this," she said. Her voice trembled, but the words held firm. And that silence that followed was louder than anything. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whispers, shock, disbelief. But she didn't look at them. She glanced at him, Alexander. And for the first time, she noticed something in his eyes. It wasn't control. It wasn't pressure. It was something she hadn't felt in ages. Safety. Real safety. But hold on, it wasn't over yet. Daniel stepped forward, quick as a flash. He grabbed her wrist. Hard. "Enough," he muttered under his breath. The mask was off now. No more pretending. No more flawless facade. Just control. Raw. Unmistakable. "You're not leaving," he declared. And there it was. The truth. Out in the open. No longer hidden. No softening. No disguises. And in that moment, everyone witnessed it. But before he could pull her back, Alexander sprang into action. Fast. precise, controlled. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He simply stepped between them and effortlessly removed Daniel's hand, like it never belonged there, like it shouldn't have been. And the look he shot Daniel said it all. No words were necessary. Just power. Quiet, unyielding, dangerous. "You're done," Alexander stated, calmly, but with finality. Suddenly, those two men at the edge of the garden froze. They didn't budge, didn't step forward, because now they realized who he was. And that shifted everything. Daniel took a step back. For the first time, not in control, not confident, but uncertain. And Sofia, she felt it. The shift, the moment, the end of one life, and the start of another. Her chest rose, her breath steadied, and slowly she moved forward, standing next to Alexander, not behind him, next to him. And in that moment, everything changed forever. For a moment, no one said a word. No music played. No one moved. Just silence, heavy and real, the kind of silence that settles in after something shatters. Sofia stood there, frozen. Her heart was still racing, but she felt free. The garden appeared different now. The same flowers, the same faces, the same place. Yet everything felt laid bare, as if a truth had just stepped into the light. Slowly, the whispers began, soft at first. Then they grew louder. Confusion, shock, questions. But she didn't look back. She didn't need to, because for the first time, she wasn't seeking approval. She wasn't waiting for someone to guide her. She had already made her choice. And that shifted everything. But wait, there was still one thing left. Daniel. He stood there, motionless, watching her, his expression no longer flawless, no longer composed. It was cracked. "You're making a mistake," he said quietly. But his voice had changed, less certain, less commanding, almost desperate. Sofia turned slowly, not afraid, not trembling, just calm. "No," she replied softly. "I almost did." And those words hit harder than anything else, because they were true, and for the first time, she wasn't trying to persuade him. She was speaking to herself. Daniel took a step forward, then halted, because Alexander didn't budge, didn't say a word, but his presence alone was enough to fill the space, enough to end the moment. And Daniel realized it. The control he once wielded was gone, completely. The mask, the charm, the illusion, all vanished, laid bare in front of everyone. And suddenly, he had nothing left, no power, no control, no bride, just silence. And slowly, he stepped back, one step, then another, and just like that, it was over. But the feeling, Sofia let out a long, deep breath, as if she had been holding for weeks, maybe even longer. And for the very first time, she felt something so simple. Peace. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was just quiet and real. She glanced around once more, taking in the people, the place, and the version of herself that almost stayed. Then she turned away completely, leaving it all behind, step by step, without a hint of hesitation or a glance back. But as she walked, she sensed it, his presence beside her, steady and unshaken. Alexander didn't rush or say a word. He simply matched her pace. And somehow, that spoke volumes more than any words could. After a few moments, she finally turned to him, really looking at him. "You knew," she said softly. He nodded once, simply stating, "I saw enough." It was straightforward, no explanations, no pressure, just the truth. "And you still came?" she asked, and there was a brief pause before he replied. "Yes." No hesitation, no doubt. That one word carried everything. No control, no force, just a choice. And for the first time, she grasped the difference. They reached the edge of the garden, the noise behind them fading, the tension lifting, and the past staying where it belonged. Ahead of them lay nothing planned, nothing expected, nothing forced, just space, freedom, and the promise of something new. Sofia paused, took one last breath, and then stepped forward, not into fear or pressure, but into the unknown. And somehow that felt just right. Sometimes it's not the loud moments that change your life. It's the quiet ones. The moments when you finally listen to that inner voice. The one you've ignored, the one you've doubted, the one that always knew the truth. Sofia nearly lost herself trying to keep everyone else happy. But in the end, she chose herself, and that made all the difference. Because real love doesn't control you, trap you, or instill fear. It sets you free. And sometimes, the person who saved you is simply the one who gives you a choice. So tell me, what will you choose?